Hi everyone, in this Django tutorial we are going to learn about Django templates. In this lesson we want to learn how you can render a template in Django, also how you can send data from your view functions to the HTML templates. So for rendering templates in Django, we use the render function. It combines the given template with a given context dictionary and returns an HTTP response object that render the text. You can pass different arguments in the render function. Some of them are required and some are optional. So the basic syntax of the render function is like this. You have render, request, template name, context type, and status. So the request object used to generate this response, and then the template name is the full name of a template to use, or the sequence of template names. If a sequence is given, the first template that exists will be used. For the context is a dictionary of values to add to the template context. By default, this is an empty dictionary. If a value in the dictionary is callable, the view will call it just before rendering the template. We have the content type, right? You use the MIME type to use for resulting document. So this defaults to the text or HTML. We have the status code for the response. This one defaults to 200. Okay, now first of all, you need to create a templates directory in your project. So there are two ways that you can add your templates folder. The first way is that you can add this folder in a specific project app. The second way is that you can add this folder in the project directory. So you can add it to the app or directory. So in this case, I'm adding it to the project directory. So as for me, I've created my templates folder and I've added a basic HTML here, the indexing .html in my folder. So this is the simple HTML I have used. Now we want to render this template. So we open the views.py from the pause app and we add some code. So for rendering, we use the render function from Django.shortcuts. So in this case, I am going to remove this HTTP response code which we were using. Right now, we put in render. Right, you want to render index.html like this. So we open the settings.py here. We want to notify Django about this templates folder that we created in the project directory. Right, so we move here to dirs and we put in the name of our folder here, which is the templates. Right, so now we go to the to our local host to see the result of our code. Right, as you can see here, it's now rendering the code which we put in the HTML index.html in our templates folder. Welcome to Charming Brains, find programming trainings in Charming Brains. Right, okay, now sometimes you need to send some data from your view function to the HTML files. For example, you have retrieved your data from the database and you want to show them to the users in your HTML files. So for this, we can use templates context in Django. Let's bring changes to our index view function in views.py. You can now we want to create some data which we are to add, which we are to render to our HTML. Right, so here we create context. Right, for the context, right, I'll put in name. Here I'm going to put Charming Brains. Right. Is going to create another key here, pro lists. I'm going to create another key here, pro lists. Right. Like this. And I'm going to create a list here of names of programming languages. Here I put Python, put Java, I'll put C++, I'll put C#, right, this, right here, I left out a comma here, right, so we will now move to our index.html. Okay, so firstly, let's put our context. We need to put our context in our render. Then, right, we put the context. Then we move on to our index.html. So here in Django, I'll put in the name right here. Instead of using this name, javabrains, which I hard coded, I'll get the name from the views in my index function. Right, so here we use the double angle brackets here, and I'll put in the name. Right, like this. And here I will render the pro list which we just created in our views. Alright, let's check our website to see the new data here. As you can see here, we have the name. It's now coming from charmingbrains.com. We find our programming trainings at charmingbrains, Python, Java, C++, C#. So that was it for our Django templates, our introduction to Django templates. So that was it for our introduction to Django templates.